and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a book haul. This is going to be my fall book haul, even though we're already way into December. So this is basically going to be the books, or at least some of the books that I've added to my TBR since the last time I did a book haul, which I don't know when that was, but I'm going to guess sometime in September. So as usual, I'm not going to mention every book that I've added to my TBR, just because I tend to add a lot of ebooks to my TBR, so this is just going to be a selection. I've gotten a little bit better, so I think I'm adding less books to my TBR now than I did in the beginning of the year, but I mean, there's still a lot. There's still a lot of books that I've added to my TBR over the last few months. So I'm going to start with the physical books, and then I'm going to move on to the ebooks. Let me just say right away that this haul is going to be purely romance. Pretty much. I mean, that's all I've added to my TBR in the past few months. But yeah, let's start with the physical books. And the good news, at least for my TBR, is that I've actually only added one physical book to my TBR since my last book haul, which is great since I'm trying to get my physical TBR down. So the one book that I have added to my TBR is this one. And this is Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World. This is the sequel to Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I feel like that book is very popular. I feel like a lot of people have read it. I read it several years ago. I want to say back in maybe 2016 or 17. And I absolutely loved it. At the time, it was one of my favorite books. Obviously, a lot of time has passed since then. I still consider it to be a favorite book, but obviously it's been a while since I read it. So I will admit that I'm a little nervous about this one, and I'm also nervous about rereading the first one, just because I'm scared I won't feel the same way about it anymore. But the plan is basically to reread the first one and then get to this one sometime in 2022. And I am excited, even though I'm a little bit nervous as well. If you're unfamiliar with this series, it's basically YA, not contemporary. I think it's more historical fiction, because for what I can remember, I think it's set sometime in the past, like maybe 80s or 90s. So not too long ago, but not really modern day either. Since it's been a while since I read the first book, I don't remember a lot of details. I just remember that I found it absolutely beautiful. I thought the writing was absolutely beautiful, and I just loved it. So yeah, I am super curious and very excited, and also a little bit nervous to read the second book, but I'm happy to have it on my physical TBR. So with that one physical book out of the way, let's get to the ebooks that I've added to my TBR over the past few months. There are quite a few of them, so I'm just going to go through them really quickly. And the first one I have here is Giorgio by Sylvia Violet. This is the first book in the Vigilance series, and I think this one is a spin-off series from another series that the author have. And I'm pretty sure I have at least one book in that other series as well, so I'll probably try and read that one first. And I'm pretty sure this book is a bodyguard romance, and I have quite a few of those now, but I've mentioned here on this channel before that that is a trope that I really enjoy, so I'm always looking for more. So this one is just one that I'm really excited to get to. Then the next book I have here is Off Balance by J. Hogan, and this book is the first book in a series called Painted Bay, and it's about a ballet dancer who has returned to his small hometown due to some circumstances. I don't really know why. And there he meets a fisher, and I think this is like the romance. And it sounds just like the type of opposites attract small town romance that I like. So yeah, I'm curious about this one. The next book that I have here is Riven by Rowan Parish. And like, honestly, I bought this mainly because it's Rowan Parish, and I absolutely love her books, at least the ones that I've read. This one seems to be a rockstar romance, which for some reason is not something that I'm usually drawn to, but again, it's Rowan Parish, so I feel like this one is just one that I want to read either way. And it's the first book in a trilogy. I don't know if all three books are rockstar romances. I actually don't know anything about the other books, but I'm just excited to read more Rowan Parish, basically. The next book I have is Playing the Palace by Paul Rodnick. And this is a standalone book, and it's about royals, or at least one of the main characters is from a royal family. And like that immediately makes me think of Red, White and Royal Blue, which is one of my favorite books, though I'm sure this one is pretty different. Red, White and Royal Blue I think is still the only like royals romance that I've ever read, but like ever since I read that one I've been meaning to read more. So that's one of the reasons I added this one to my TBR. This one is apparently a rom-com, so I just hope that it's not too over the top, because I tend to not like that so much, but I guess we'll see. I'm curious about this one. Then we have a couple of books by K.J. Charles. The first one is An Unnatural Wise by K.J. Charles, like I said. And this is the second book in a series called Sins of the Cities. I don't have the first book yet, so I will need to read that one before I can get to this one. But like I bought this mainly because it's K.J. Charles, and I just want to get to more of this author's books eventually. This is of course historical romance, which is what this author usually writes, and this one I think is set in Victorian London. Don't really know anything about it aside from that. And then the other book I have by K.J. Charles is A Fashionable Indulgence, and this one is the first book in a series called A Society of Gentlemen. And again, I don't really know anything about it, I just know that it's K.J. Charles, and I want to read more K.J. Charles, so that's why I added this one to my TBR. Then we have a couple of books by Only James, and this is an author that I'm just really curious about, just because I've heard so much buzz around her books lately. So I'm just excited and curious to try her out, because I haven't read anything by this author yet. So the first book that I have here is Intoxicating. And this is the first book in a series called Elite Protection Services. And I'm pretty sure this is another Bodyguard Romance, which of course fits me perfectly. One of the characters in this one I think is the son of a senator, and the other one is like tasked to look after him or something. That's basically what I know, but like I said, I just want to try something by this author. And then the other book that I have by Only James is Unhinged. And this is the book or series that I've heard the most buzz about. But like honestly, I'm not sure if it's for me, because this is apparently like a serial killer romance. Like one of the main characters, he is a serial killer. But apparently he only kills bad guys, so I guess that's good. And I think this particular book is a romance between him and the son of one of his victims. It sounds really intriguing. I just hope that it's not too dark or that the characters are too morally grey, because I tend to not like that. But yeah, like I've said, I'm just excited to check out the series because I've heard a lot of things about it, a lot of good things, a lot of praise for this series. So yeah, I will check it out and hopefully I'll enjoy it too. So then we have a couple of books by E.J. Russell. And first off, we have book 2 and 3 in the Fae Out of Water series. That is The Druid Next Door and Bad Boys Bard. And I actually read the first book in the series, which is called Cutie and the Beast, back in 2017. It was one of the first books that I read after I got my Kindle. So it was one of the first books that I read on my Kindle. And I really liked that book, and I always intended to read the rest of the series as well, like this is a trilogy. But I never got to the other books, but now I finally have them on my TBR and on my Kindle. So now I have like no excuses to put this off any longer. From what I remember from the first book, this is just a like really fun and cute series, and it's about Fae. It's about 3 brothers, like the 3 brothers have 1 book each. And I think the first one, it was about the oldest Fae brother and like his romance with a human. It was just really fun. I really liked that book, so I'm just excited to get back to the series. I don't know if I will reread the first book yet before I read the other 2. I probably will, to be honest, because it's been a while. And like I said, I really enjoyed that first book. So yeah, it's going to be fun to get back into this series, I think. And then continuing on with some E.J. Russell, I also have Nudging Fate. And this is book 1 in the Enchanted Occasions series. And this one seems to be about an event planner who is planning the competition for the Hand of Fairy's One True Prince. And I think like stuff happens, and it just sounds like it's going to be a whole lot of fun. There seems to be fairies in here, and there seems to be some Norse mythology thrown in. And I think this is just going to be really unique and fun. And from what I remember from the first and only E.J. Russell book that I've read, her books are just really fun based on that one book. So yeah, I'm just excited to read more from this author, basically. Then we have Off the Ice by Evangel and Piper Wan. And this is the first book in the Hat-Trick series. And this is, like, based on the cover, very obviously a hockey romance. Again, sports romances are not really my favorite, or I don't consider them to be like a favorite trope or anything like that, but for some reason I've kind of been in the mood to read some sports romance lately, so at least now I have this one on my TBR. And this one seems to maybe also be like a student-teacher romance, or at least they used to be student and teacher, so I'm not sure quite what the situation is here, but it sounds like it could be pretty fun, so yeah. The next book that I have is End of the Line by Nikki James. And this book is the first one in the Rail Rider series, and it seems to be about a guy who is on the run from something, I don't know what. And then he meets a group of freight hoppers. And it says in the synopsis that it's a story about two people from vastly different worlds who fall in love. And it's about friendship and found family. And it's just definitely sounds like my kind of book, so I'm very excited about this one. Then we have Aftermath by L.A. Witt, and this is part of the Vino and Veritas series, which is a shared universe where several authors have written one book each. So I think they can all be read as standalone, so you can just read the ones you're the most interested in. Like, I probably won't read the entire thing because I think there's like 18 books altogether, and there are probably some that I'm just not that interested in, but I have been meaning to check out some of the books in this universe, so now at least I have this one. And this particular book seems to be about an ex-hockey player and a single father, and that's pretty much what I know, but like I said, I've been meaning to try out some of the books in this universe, so yeah, now I have this one. Then we have Hard Sell by Hudson Lynn, and this is the first book in the Jade Harbor Capital series, and this one seems to be like a brother's best friend kind of romance, and it seems to be set in sort of like a business environment, so maybe it's kind of a workplace romance as well. I mean, those can always be fun, so yeah, I'm curious about this one. Then we have Without a Doubt by E.M. Lindsay, because apparently I can't do a book haul without having at least one E.M. Lindsay book on my list. This one is the first book in a series called Love Starts Here. So it seems to be about a guy who has a really bad first date. So he's thinking like that he has no urge to see that person again, and then he shows up at his new job, and of course there is that person. I mean, that's what I can gather from the synopsis. So it sounds like this could be a fun one, so yeah, I'm excited to check it out. And then finally, for this book haul, we have a couple of Lucy Lennox books. The first one is Hostile Takeover, and this is a standalone book, I think. And it seems to be about two people who went to school together, but then something happened, I think, and now they're both adult, and one of them is out to get revenge for something, and he's trying to take over the company of the other. I mean, I'm not sure. That's what I can gather from the synopsis, so I mean, I guess we'll just have to see what this book is about. So it sounds kind of like it could be like a second chance kind of romance, but also kind of like enemies to lovers, so I'm not really sure what to expect from this one. But like ever since I read Virgin Flyer by Lucy Lennox early this year, I have been meaning to check out more books by this author, so yeah, that's pretty much what I got this one. And then the other Lucy Lennox book I have is Right as Rain, and this book is the first in a series called Astor Valley, and this one is also a sports romance, I think, but this time it's about football. And it seems to be a romance between a football player and the coach's son. That's pretty much what I know. But like I said, I've been meaning to read more Lucy Lennox, so I'm excited to check this one out as well. So that was my book haul. As usual, there are quite a lot of books, and as usual, I'm excited to read all of them. So it's just about finding the time to actually sit down and read them, and also the tons of other books that I have on my Kindle in particular, but like you said, you can see behind me, I have some physical books that I need to get to as well, even though not all of these physical books are TBR books, but still. So I guess just bring on 2022. For some reason I'm feeling very optimistic about 2022 and the amount of books that I'm going to read. I feel like in 2022 I'm just going to read all the books. Obviously that's not going to happen, but you know, at least I'm positive and optimistic, so I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this book haul. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if there are any of these books you think that I should prioritize, and I can see if maybe I can do that. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, you can always hit like down below, or you can subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. That's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!